before we take a look specifically at the film, let's take a look at the ref crew really quick for this week. Trey Blake. This is about as positive of a referee assignment as the Cowboys have gotten all year.
Let me ask you this question. With all these referee previews, have you found that, it's mattered? It has.
Yeah, the trends that we found in there have applied to the games. Like when we've talked about they call a certain penalty or they do this or that, it has ended up mattering. Now, the Houston game was one where we said it generally. There's not one that he calls more that benefits them or anything else. It's pretty down the middle. There were a lot of penalties in the game, more than he had really thrown all year, but it was still balanced for the most part. They were getting called at a balanced rate. This one is going to be positive for them because they're getting one of the stingiest penalty crews in the NFL this week with Trey Blake. They don't call hardly anything. If you look at where they're at relative to the rest of the NFL, there's no penalties that they're near the top of the league in calling. Their raw penalty total is down near the bottom third of the league. The only thing that is really substantial where you see, oh, that's different from a lot of the trends and it's different from being a down the middle thing is they call on average a lot more penalties against the home team than they do against the road team. So if you're Dallas, that's a good thing this week. You're on the road in Washington. That would be a positive. But Trey Blake's crew really does not call anything at a high rate across the rest of the league. They're middle of the pack or lower on every penalty, essentially. So it should be a cleaner game, you would hope. All right, so Washington. We always hear about, Cliff Kingsbury comes back, and we talked about how there's a lot of air raid influence and the different, is there McVay to some of this? Is there Kyle Shanahan to some of this? What are they doing that's different? I'll tell you, the offense that it looks like to me is Green Bay. Like, it looks a lot more like what LaFleur likes to do. Generally, it's going to be, a lot more from pistol formation than a lot of other teams. It's the run style. It's the run design. It's the way that they set up their splits on offense. Those sort of things are all very similar to the way that Green Bay does things. So it still looks very Cliff Kingsbury air raid type, but it's not nearly as pure as it's been in the past for Cliff. There's definitely some influences, some things he learned while he had stepped away. And I don't know if that's influence from Lincoln Riley or if that's influence from just his own study of trends across the league. There is a wild bit of research out there. And Cliff Kingsbury, I think, was actually asked about this yesterday. A post went viral this week showing EPA per play, which is expected points added. And every single year that Cliff has been in the NFL, his team's EPA per play has steadily risen and peaked in October, and then November on just bottoms out the rest of the way.
Oh.
And so the thought process from a lot of people is Cliff comes out with a plan, Cliff attacks, defenses adjust, teams adjust, and he does nothing to respond to it. And that trend has started again this year, where he hasn't done a whole lot to adjust to what the rest of the NFL is trying to do to them. They've tried to take away a little bit more of what Jaden Daniels wants to do. They've started trying to stack the box a little bit more. Now, one of the really fascinating things about Washington is they are the second most frequently stacked box team for the run in terms of defenses stacking the box against them. Number one is Dallas, or light boxes. Sorry,
light boxes.
They're a light box. Dallas is the highest light box rate in the NFL because nobody respects the run game from them. If you look at the other teams in the top 10 of light box rate, Washington is the only one with a positive expected points added, which tells you they're setting up formations that are just giving them favorable numbers, and then they're able to run out of it. The other teams, they don't respect you. They try to stack the box against other teams. A Philadelphia, a Baltimore, they're saying, we don't care if you stack the box against us. We're going to load up. We're going to run it. We do it this way. Cliff gets the advantage because of the way that he just sets things up with formation, causes the defense to have to account for different things, and they naturally get lighter boxes, and that they're able to take advantage of it. Brian Robinson's really good for them. Austin Eckler, it feels like, has kind of found the fountain of youth. They've obviously been able to
Brian Robinson, I love him.
He's so good, and he's tough.
He's like, I'm glad you said that. He is like James Conner light to me right now.
Yes, literally a little lighter.
I love James. I love James Conner. Yeah. He'd be on the Al Sharif team.
This is, by the way, really quickly, I'm going to turn this around so you can see it. This is that chart that I was telling you was going viral. Those peaks are all October of the season for Cliff Kingsbury, and they nosedive every single year.
Wow.
That's every year?
That's every year that he's been in the NFL. And so defenses adjust typically.
Yes.
And so, look, this is November here. You've started to see some struggles. I think the last 2 weeks are the worst offensive weeks for Washington in terms of their EPA per play and different things. Jaden Daniels has been good. I do think Cliff deserves a lot of credit for putting him in a position to succeed. Like, you watch a lot of what he's trying to do schematically. Where Jaden deserves a ton of credit is he's so poised. There's not a lot of mistakes. He sees everything. He recognizes where danger is. He avoids it, and he takes advantage of things. He takes calculated risks. It's not consistent, but he'll find his spots to take risk, and he usually benefits from it. So I think that this is going to be a really difficult week for Dallas to stop the run. They've been better in recent weeks, it felt like, just responding to the run game, playing better, a little bit more solid defensively. There's not as many busts. They're in better position. They've played a lot more quarters coverage recently with their defensive scheme, which we talked about this with Kevin Smith on Cowboys Crosstalk the other day.
Well,
when you're just dropping into quarters coverage, there's a lot less communication. There's a lot less disguise that you're doing, and you're just telling guys to, hey, just focus on doing your job. And I think that's where Zimmer's adjusted a little bit as he realizes, hey, we're trying to do some different things here, but let's not confuse things too much, especially with all the injuries we've had where guys are getting swapped out, because that's causing confusion and communication issues, and it's been a big issue for us.
Man, Jaden Daniels has not thrown for 210 in his last 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm. We lost 2 of them.
He has not thrown for 210 yards. And he's not thrown for 3 touchdowns all season, but he's thrown for 1 touchdown in the last 2 weeks as well.
So, I think that we're seeing this in the league, that when you're like a mobile quarterback, your ability to play immediately goes up because you do have that added element to your game to where, hey, look, I mean, you can break somebody in, and then they also know that if it's not there, they just run. But I do think that it stunts your growth a little bit. Whereas if you're a pure pocket passer, you come in and you may struggle early on, and then you start to figure it out.
Well, and there's also, like McCarthy mentioned it at 6:30, the college influences have become so common across the NFL that a lot of times, I think that's one of the explanations you hear from people around the league of why quarterbacks come to the league better prepared to play, is because the learning curve's not as sharp. You're running concepts that existed for you in college. There's not there's the college game, and then there's the pro-style offense, and you got to learn a whole new system. You got to do these different things.
They've also screwed it up because Brady has talked about this. They're not prepared to play. They're prepared to play. They're more prepared to play, but they're also less prepared to play from the standpoint of they don't teach them how to play the position anymore. They teach them how to play a system.
Sure, and I mean, like, you see young quarterbacks struggle with scheme adjustments, like as teams tend to adjust to whatever you're doing. Yeah, they struggle with that. That's why Stroud is so impressive. Stroud's really good at, like, reacting to what defenses are doing to him. His biggest area, we talked about it last week, was the ability to sense pressure and how to move in the pocket, but Stroud is really advanced in terms of being able to get through his progressions, get through his reads, read the defense, know what they're doing in front of him. But Jaden Daniels has done a decent job of that. One of the things that was really interesting to me, I heard Brian reference this week, and I was like, I'm going to look out for that when I go in there. 10 touchdown passes this year for Jaden Daniels. How many of those do you think have been inside the pocket?
10 touchdowns inside the pocket?
Yep.
3.
0.
10. He hasn't thrown a single pass for a touchdown that's been on a rollout or a busted play or anything else. It's all been inside the pocket this year for him.
Wow.
Which, that's where he kind of finds some success. So typically if he starts moving, he's not one of these guys. You don't see a lot of this anyway. You don't see a lot of Jaden Daniels getting on the move or trying to salvage a busted play. When a play busts, that's when he's just going. Like, he's going to run. He's not using it typically. Like, where Lamar has a lot of, like, advantages is Lamar will step up in the pocket. He'll run around. He's and he's still got his eyes downfield. He's looking for something.
Yeah.
And if it's not there, then he goes. But Jaden Daniels, it feels like a lot of times, if he starts using his legs, Jaden Daniels is just going to use his legs, and he's not looking for any benefit in the passing game. But that's what they do offensively. Defensively, they've got to run the ball this week. The
Cowboys?
Yes, they have no choice. Like, and that's not anything to say that Washington's secondary is really great. They're playing Noah Igbenogany full-time snaps right now in the nickel. That's not awesome.
Wow, I don't think that's good. He could run back a blocked punt, though.
Yeah, he can do that.
Blocked
Yeah,
kick.
if it's tossed to him, wasn't it tossed to him, or
I
did he
think
scoop
so.
it up? I can't remember. But he is. It is one of those things defensively where Washington is just so porous on the edges. Like they don't do a really good job containing the edge.
But Fowler and Armstrong?
Like Fowler and Armstrong are upfield players. Like they in fact, that was one of Armstrong's biggest issues a lot of times here in Dallas was that he was really bad against the run. They tackle well. They're really good tacklers, but it's just a lot of time, not just those edges. I mean, Washington's defense tackles really well. The problem is just that they do a really poor job of keeping the edge, flowing the defense the right way. There's occasionally some over pursuit stuff. It is definitely a Dan Quinn defense in terms of its hair on fire, its form, technique, teach tape type of tackling. But overall, you look at Washington's defense and you just say the way to take advantage of them is going to be in the run game because they have a lot of the same issues at times that Dallas had stopping the run when Dan Quinn was here.
I thought it was Hearts on Fire, the song.
Nope, it's hair on fire. That's what that was.
I think this game is going to be one of the earliest ending games of the day.
What's the news? So like right at 3:00, it's over.
Yeah, I think this thing's going to go by fast. That's going to be my game time prediction.
And my prediction is that it will be Washington on the other side that's screaming, it's only 3:15, because I think that this is going to be a difficult day for Dallas.
Well, let's save it for 8 o'clock.
I know I'm not going to give you the score. I'm just saying, I do think that...
You loved blowing up teases.
I did not. I just said...
I did not. I'm going to tell you they're the ones celebrating after, but I'm not telling you anything. I'm going to not give away my pick. They're the ones that are going to be really happy at 3:15.
Sorry,
You're right.
sorry. Yeah, sorry. I guess you guys should expect that a 10.5 point underdog that's lost 5 straight games, I might have picked them. No, this is just...
Could be close.
This will be something where if Dallas has got to commit to the run. Again, this is another week where we're saying the same thing. I feel like this feels like a game Trey Lance should play if you really wanted to win, which honestly, maybe you don't want to totally. Maybe you want some of the natural tanking a little bit. But if you really want to make things difficult on Washington, I think they'd have a ton of trouble if you were out there running read option stuff with Trey Lance.
Okay.
So that's Washington, and that's Dallas.